Hello everyone and welcome back. Now that the rear brakes have been overhauled, it's time to tackle the fronts. So yes, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me once again. In the last video, we replaced the rear brakes, or we completely overhauled the rear braking system, brand new braided lines, powder coated the calipers and the carriers, changed all the seals, nuts, bolts, the lot, including the wheel studs. Now, this week, we need to tackle the fronts. Now, the fronts are slightly different in that they are a twin piston design. Instead of having the one single piston inside, they've actually got two either side. And there's no handbrake mechanism, so that obviously is going to make my life a little bit easier, but it does mean with the twin pistons I've got two lots of seals to replace, I've got two lots of pistons to replace, so they might take me a little bit longer. So what we're going to do is get cracking and stripping these down, and then I'll talk you through the process of rebuilding these calipers. Okay, so these front calipers are a little bit different compared to the back, because with the back you just had one single sliding bolt which was then holding the entire caliper down, because you then had a pin which slid in at the top, and then you could lift it or raise it or lower it, and that would slide in and out off that pin. Now obviously on the fronts we have two bolts, two sliding bolts, two sliders, so we're going to start by taking these off, and then we can actually remove the caliper. Once we've removed the caliper, I'm going to pump the brake pedal to push the brake pistons out, so I'll go through that in a second, but first let's get this caliper off. Okay, so with the brake caliper removed, you can now see what I'm talking about. We have a twin piston design. So obviously I need to pop both these pistons out, replace these seals, obviously once I've given it all a good clean and powder coated them. And then on the carrier, we have these two sliding bolts, which are the seals and everything that needs to be replaced there. So really, these are far simpler, obviously, other than the fact I have two lots of seals to replace on the actual caliper itself. But obviously, unlike the rears, I don't have a handbrake mechanism to disassemble and change and, you know, replace the seals and stuff on there. So these actually are going to take me considerably less time to get sorted, I think. So, like I say, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pump the brake pedal, which is then going to push these pistons out. Now, these are going to be in there quite tough, so if I pump them out, hopefully that'll do most of the hard work for me. That way we can then just pop these out, disconnect it from the hose, and then we can actually start stripping this thing down. Okay, so as you just saw there, as I was pumping up the brake pedal, this one came out nicely. This one, however, has not moved. So that's telling me that that one's stuck in there pretty badly. I'm glad that I'm doing this process and, you know, I haven't just bothered changing the brake pads and the brake discs, because if I'd have now put discs and pads in here, this would have worn completely wrong. So the brake pad probably would have ended up moving like that, so I probably would have had this much friction material breaking on the disc. So obviously this is well worth doing. I'm going to have to completely strip this down by, I don't know, taking a pair of more grips to this and trying to get this free. At least this one's pretty much there, so this one's not going to put up much of a fight. So what I'm going to do now, disconnect this hydraulic hose off the brake caliper, then we will put it on the bench and I will have to try and get this out by hand. Okay, so already we're off to an absolute flyer of a start. This banjo bolt did not want to come out of this caliper. So it should have been a 14mm. Didn't want to come undone. I had to end up smashing a 13mm over it and using my impact drill to get it out. So good job I have all new banjo bolts and hoses, because what a nightmare that was. Right, so what I've done now is I've removed the bleed nipple, I've removed that hose, so they're now completely bare. I have just removed the piston out of that one. That did come out, that was already pretty much out. So it's just this one. I'm probably going to have to get a pair of more grips on and some WD-40, spray the WD-40 in here, let it soak for a bit, then try and get a pair of more grips and try and get this piston out. That does seem in there pretty tough. So that's literally all I have left to do on this caliper, and obviously remove the seals. Then we can give it a good clean up and we can stick in the powder coater. The caliper, or the carrier, sorry, I've just got to take that off next and again clean it up, remove the sliding pins, and then we can crack on and get them powder coated as well. What I might do this time is actually take off the other side and we can get it all done in one go. Okay, so unfortunately, as I was trying to strip these down, I have broken a bleed nipple on this caliper, which is the passenger side front, which means that this is now no longer a serviceable item, because I tried to use an easy out, didn't work, drilled it out and tried to re-tap it, didn't work, then tried to use a helicoil, didn't have the right size, so now basically that is fit for the bin. I've ordered a new one. Unfortunately, it won't be here till next week. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to be concentrating on this side and both of the pad carriers. So at least that way, once I've done the pad carriers, it's just going to be a case of waiting for a new caliper, get that stripped down, powder coat that, fit that, then the front brakes are done. So these are now completely cleaned, and I have tried to get rid of as most of the rust and everything as I can. And I have taped up all the holes that I don't want powder getting into. So now it's just a case of blasting these for some powder and put them in the oven. Okay, so I've just taken these parts out of the oven. I've given both of them 2 coats. So what I actually did was coated it the first time, as you saw, put it in the oven, took it out after about 10 minutes, gave it another quick coat, put it back in the oven, and that just looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really happy with the results. I'm getting quite good at this powder coating thing, I think. So the carrier has been rebuilt with 2 new seals and brand new slider bolts and brand new caliper bolts as well. So that is completely done. I have also changed the wheel studs on this one as well. Well, basically, like I said, I'm going to do all 4 wheels, new wheel studs, the lot. So that's that done. And then 1 freshly rebuilt caliper. So again, new seals internally, new pistons, new external dust shields as well, new bleed nipple cover, and also I have already fitted the brand new braided brake line to the car. So it's just a case of bolting all of this together, and this side is done. Okay, so that is it. That is now the front brake system completely sorted. Well, sort of. Obviously, I need to wait for that new brake caliper that I've broken. However, I have powder coated the carrier for that side, so it's just going to be a case of stripping down the caliper, giving it a powder coat, putting the caliper back together, and then fitting it all together like I have on this side here. However, just that looks absolutely fantastic, and once that other caliper's done, all 4 corners are basically brand spanking new. I've also bought the polyurethane bush kit, which means all these sort of arms here will be able to take off and replace all the bushes with brand spanking new polyurethane versions. So a little bit harder and a little bit longer lasting wearing. So I can't wait to get them in. I would love to drop the rear subframe and give all that a good powder coat whilst I'm doing all the bushes and stuff. So even though there's not loads left to do, it's all very labor intensive, so it can take a while. However, I'm just super happy with how we're at right now. Obviously, once I get the other caliper on, I'm going to need to give it all a good bleed, because there's going to be plenty of air in the system after changing all the lines and leaving the calipers off for a week or 2. So that will be the next task once the caliper has arrived and I have sorted that. However, that is everything for this week, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget that I've also got that competition on the special 1,000 subscribers video. If you go there and leave a comment, you have be in for a chance to win the tools that I reviewed in the tools for under £30 video, which I'll put a link up here. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hello everyone, and welcome back. So what do I do?